Hey, how's it going, everyone? Bass here. So in today's video, I want to go over the cut candidates for the Green Bay Packers 2022 offseason. In order to get under the cap this year, which the Packers are, $50 million over the cap. In order to get under the cap, they're going to have to cut some players. So today, I will show you who are the most likely cap casualties. And if you are new here and want more Packers news, analysis, and updates, I will be covering everything from the salary cap to the draft to free agency. So go down and click that subscribe button below. All right, so for the first cap casualty for this offseason, I do have wide receiver Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb is set to have a $9.5 million cap hit in 2022. And that is simply just way too much for a wide receiver that will be 32 years old by the season's start. He didn't even finish last year a full season. He had the core injury. And then also with Devontae Adams, Marquez Valdes-Scantling both being unrestricted free agents, as well as Allen Lazard being a restricted free agent. I just don't see them paying Randall Cobb $9.5 million this year when they have all those other question marks at wide receiver. Now, obviously, Aaron Rodgers was the advocate to have Randall Cobb be here in the first place in 2021, pretty much saying, hey, bring my buddy Randall Cobb back, and I'll continue to play for you guys. So theoretically, that could happen again, but I think if there's any chance of that, Randall Cobb would 100% have to take a pay cut, kind of like what Preston Smith did last year. Now, if that does happen, he takes a pay cut, Aaron Rodgers comes back, Randall Cobb could still be on this roster, but as his contract sits now, I just don't see that happening. He played in 12 games last year, 375 yards and 5 touchdowns. And I think the Packers drafted Amari Rodgers for a reason. Now, he is a third-round draft choice, and he didn't really play on offense much last year, mainly just special teams, which wasn't that great at either. Now, will Amari Rodgers just slot right into the slot role next year? That's anyone's best guess. But at the end of the day, the Packers would save $6.7 million to cut Randall Cobb and incur $2.7 million in dead money, so meaning his 2022 cap hit would be $2.7 million, a lot less than that $9.5 million mark. At the end of the day, like I said, the Packers have a lot to figure out at wide receiver, and paying Randall Cobb $9.5 million in 2022 simply just will not work. Next up on this list, I do have edge Za'Darius Smith. Now, this one sucks, but is likely to happen, in my opinion. A staggering $27.6 million cap hit this year, which is 13.1% of the total salary cap. Last year on his deal, so there's no way to restructure without adding void years into the future. Za'Darius will be turning 30 years old this year, and he didn't play a single full game in 2021. Now, there is a chance an extension could happen here, as well as adding void years onto that extension, bringing down that cap hit from this year to right around $16.5 million, which is $11 million difference, which is much more manageable, but would make his deal crazy backloaded and even harder to move on from Za'Darius in future years when he gets older and older. But the Packers would save a whopping $15.2 million for outright cutting him right now, incurring $12.3 million in dead money. Now, some of you may be asking, well, why wouldn't the Packers try to trade Za'Darius Smith? Now, they'd save the same amount if they were to trade him, but then that means a team that they traded him to would have to take on his base salary, which is a whopping $14.5 million, which I just doubt a team would give up a lot of draft capital for a 30-year-old edge player with a base salary of $14.5 million. So if a team were to accept a trade for Za'Darius Smith, it would likely have to be contingent on them, having an extension in play for him as well. Not completely off the table, but regardless, Za'Darius Smith is a cap casualty. Next up, we have Preston Smith, our other edge player. I see this a lot less likely than Za'Darius Smith, but nonetheless, he still has a salary cap issue, cap hit of $19.7 million in 2022, and that much I can say will not remain the same. Now, personally, I see an extension here, but an outright cut is surely still on the table. They would save $12.4 million and incur $7.2 million in dead money. Either way, I see the Packers either losing one of Za'Darius Smith or Preston Smith. And an extension here for Preston Smith could bring his cap hit down to right around $11 million, saving $8.7 million off that 2022 hit. That's $5.5 million less if they were to extend Preston instead of extending Za'Darius Smith. And Preston Smith just has been more reliable. He's only missed one game in his 3 years here at Green Bay, and he played really well last year opposite Rashawn Gary, 63 pressures, 9 sacks, and that's why I'm giving him the edge to remain on the team over Za'Darius Smith, because of his availability and the fact that he would be cheaper. All right, so for the fourth player on this list, we do have interior defensive lineman Dean Lowry. He is set to have a $8 million cap hit in 2022, and I believe that is way too high for Dean Lowry. Now, he did have a solid year rushing the passer. He was kind of weak in the run game, but not $8 million solid, and the Packers can cut that cap hit in half just by cutting him, saving $4 million. Now, Dean Lowry is on the last year of his deal, but he also has 3 void years added into his contract. So theoretically, the Packers could still restructure his deal, converting base salary to bonus and pushing that out into the void years. Now, if they were to restructure instead of cut, they'd save $3.3 million instead of the $4 million. So that's what I likely see will happen because the Packers are already so thin on defensive line. I believe they need to draft one in the first or second round nonetheless. But in any case, he is still a cap casualty, and something will be done about his $8 million cap hit in 2022. All right, so for the last cap casualty player in 2022 for the Green Bay Packers, I do have Mason Crosby. Another sad one, but sadly, it just may be time to move on. Rich Bisaccia may want to bring in a whole different special teams unit from kicker, punter, long snapper, all of that, just a whole new group in general. And obviously, Mason Crosby had that down year in 2021. And that's not to say he couldn't turn it around. He's had down years before and has turned it around and been one of the better kickers in the league. But I think Green Bay just may move on here. Mason Crosby will be 38 years old this year, and Green Bay's been holding on to kicker J.J. Molson, and I think that's for a reason. Mason Crosby, a cap hit of $4.7 million this year, may make that decision much easier. Cutting him would save $2.4 million and incur $2.3 million in dead money. And J.J. Molson is under contract for a measly $700,000. I love Mason Crosby, but sadly, it just might be time. Now, another avenue the Packers could explore is drafting a kicker as well. But those are my 5 cap casualties for this offseason, an offseason where a lot of turnaround is definitely going to happen, whether that be, pushing money out into the future or cutting players like such. But something has got to give. The Packers have to clear over $50 million in salary cap. So these 5 players are my first 5 likely that are going to either be cut, restructured, or something like that, along the lines of their cap casualties, their deals as they stand just will not work. But I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Out of these 5, which do you believe are the most likely to just be straight up outright cut by the Green Bay Packers? Leave that down in the comments below. But that'll about do it for today's video. I'll catch you on the next one. As always, go Pack, go.